Here are just a few more tips if you do find somebody who you think may be suffering from Alzheimer's and how to help.
Helping a person with dementia. Identify yourself. Maintain good eye contact. Speak slowly and calmly. Use short, simple words. Ask one question at a time. Maintain a calm environment. Avoid confrontation.
Lorna Pearson comes home from a long day of work to check on her husband, who most of the time doesn't even remember who she is.
How was your day? Are you having lunch?
At the age of 59, Elmsley Pearson had subtle personality changes, and his daughter says he couldn't remember simple things like directions.
He'd be gone for hours on end. Where'd you go? Oh, I just went down the street, but he was gone for 2 hours. So there were subtle signs.
He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and now, 7 years later, he has to have assistance with even the basics, like eating his meals.
We went from feeding ourselves with a knife and fork to feeding ourselves with just a fork to feeding ourselves with just a spoon to now not feeding ourselves at all. So everything has been gradual.
It is so difficult for his wife Lorna to deal with, she doesn't like to talk about it. But her daughter is a medical doctor and wasn't surprised when they found out the news.
I said, you know, his memory, something seems to be wrong. You'd ask him a question, he'd repeat the question, or he'd be 2 steps behind in a conversation. And that's kind of where it started, and that's, I suspected it from the beginning.
Soon after, Dr. Pearson left her residency in New York and moved home to Royal Palm Beach. And between her, her mom, and her aunt, they are in charge of every aspect of Elmsley's life.
He has never been a wanderer, so he would stay here by himself. He would watch TV. My aunt lives a few doors down. She would come and check on him. We would leave him lunch because he could prepare his own meals, and then now, slowly, he could stop preparing his meals, so she would come down and stay with him. So we went from her checking on him to her actually coming to stay with him. And then we actually started with the Alzheimer's Association and got him into daycare.
When he's not in daycare, the days consist of watching TV and moments of attempted communication with his family.
I think the hardest part with him is communication, just not being able to communicate with someone when you're trying to say, get up. It's simple things. He doesn't understand anything at this point, so that's been the toughest part.
That's her name? Her name is Lorna. You remember Lorna?
And there is even greater struggles for a wife that grew up in a culture where the man takes care of everything.
It's been a long time for her to accept that he really is not going to get better, it's going to get worse, and that her husband, as she knew him to be, no longer exists and will not exist that way again.
So for this family of caregivers, like thousands in Palm Beach County, life is nothing that was expected or planned for. Both women work full-time, and their jobs don't stop when they come home.
There are days where, you know, enough is enough and I have to take over, and it's the same thing for me. Some days you're trying to get him to do something, he won't do it, and it's better for her, he'll do it for her. So he has his days between the two of us. So yeah, it helps that we're both here together in this situation.
Dr. Pearson says despite the long days and nights and sometimes overwhelming struggles of taking care of a father with Alzheimer's, she just remembers the kind of dad he once was.
Family is important in this particular instance. That's why everybody rallies around him, because he was a wonderful person. I mean, he still is physically. Mentally, he's a totally different person, but that's why he has so much support around him now.
You know who I am?
Again, another family dealing with caregiving and the realities of Alzheimer's, as we have been saying all night. If you or somebody you know is dealing or is about to deal with this, please call our phone bank. Again, we'd like to thank our phone volunteers. They're not too busy right now. I think everyone's busy watching the show. But the number is on your screen. It's 1-800-861-7826. And that will bring you right into our phone bank. Again, if you don't have a question, that is absolutely fine, because we have lots of them here. People have emailed and our own questions. We do want to hook you up with the Alzheimer's Association, because they have information that really, truly I am not making this up, is invaluable when it comes to all the resources. We certainly couldn't tell you about all the resources in this county in one show. So they will send you out a packet of information that will help you. I'm welcoming back Dr. Murray Todd, who is joining us, and a new guest, Denise Sparks, who is with the FAU Memory Center. And it's basically a center that is testing all kinds of things, both memory and related to Alzheimer's, correct?
That's correct.
And tell me a little bit more about that.
Our center is a comprehensive center, so we do a diagnostic evaluation service. We have caregiver education and counseling and support. We also have an adult day center for people with mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease and related memory disorders.
And you were telling me that that is a real kind of niche, the mild to moderate, which is kind of what Lorenzo has right now, because daycare is more for the people in advanced stages, right? So this is a real unique situation?
Well, historically, day centers seem to have catered to individuals in the more moderate to severe stages of the disease, but now we're able to diagnose the disorder much earlier, and we pick it up much sooner, and we want programming for those people and their families as well that is targeted to their particular level of functioning and help stimulate them and keep them functioning at their best as long as we possibly can.
Now, when it is early like that, if you catch it early enough, can you, with your games or your quizzes or whatever it is you do, can you slow it down at all, or at least help them not lose their memory as quickly?
Well, we do think that stimulation helps keep people functioning at their best as long as possible. Many people complain to us that left at their own devices, they stay at home, they sit and watch TV and take naps and really don't get much exercise, much socialization, or cognitive stimulation. And all of those things are the things we try to provide in our day center context.
And doctor, is that backed up by medical research that the more you get the Alzheimer's patient involved in this kind of thing and give caregiver respite, the better both do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And Denise is correct. This disease, one of the problems with this disease is it causes apathy. Apathy causes a person just to sit around and do nothing. That's the absolute worst thing they could possibly do. Whether it's a beginning disease, moderate disease, or even advanced, I tell people, please get out of the house, do something, do anything. Go for a walk in the park, go listen to birds, just do anything you can. If you can't read anymore because you're cognitively impaired, you're just not able to do that, then do something else. But don't sit home and watch TV, which isn't very cognitively stimulating.
Is there a lot coming up? In other words, you said the research into Alzheimer's is so much more vast than when you were first practicing. So does that mean that there are more kinds of tests, studies, things that can help you help these people sooner, like at the FAU Center?
The research in that particular area is really kind of in early stages, frankly. And that's the kind of thing we focus on at our center, is how do we help people who are living with the disease to function at their best. It's a really fairly new arena for research, but that's what we're hoping to pursue.
Yeah,
go ahead.
In the large term, it's a cognitive rehabilitation. And that's what Denise is meaning. The scientific validity for that is just now coming out, but I'm reasonably sure that it's going to be very valid.
Really?
And we're going to see ideas of things that we can do, not medications, because the medicines, as I said, weren't very particularly powerful. And so we need a lot more additional help. And if we're talking about cognitive rehabilitation, maybe we can just do cognitive stimulation.
Right.
Before you actually become a clinically demented person. You're just age, you're heading in that direction, the risk is there. Do something then, and as I said earlier, maybe we can postpone that to age 85 or age 90 when you would have come down with the disorder rather than at age 70.
Wow. And are you, Denise, seeing any of this? I mean, do you... In other words, what's your youngest patient that you work with there?
Well, we've had patients as young as in the 30s. I'm not sure there's someone there right now at that age. I think the more important point, though, is that in our culture, we've tended to want to sweep this under the rug. There were horrible stereotypes, and people have not been willing to come forward and be tested or participate in activities because of the stigma. And as Dr. Todd said a moment ago, that's the worst thing. We really feel like it's important for people to come forward, recognize what's going on, and seek the appropriate treatments and support and services that help them maintain their function at early stages, and rather than avoid and wait too long.